Yo, welcome back. Appreciate you for being here. If you read that title, yes, it's what you read. Marvel's What If. I'm fucking with this series, so I'm gonna be reviewing it. I watched the first episode. I think it's gonna be dope. Let me play this intro music. Give the people who haven't seen it or don't care about this stuff some time to exit on out. Spoilers, all that. We about to get into this first episode. Yeah, so for those of you who are Marvel heads like myself, I'm pretty sure you've been keeping up with everything that they've been doing on Disney Plus. Um, Starting off with WandaVision, and then we had Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Loki season one just ended. Now we're on to the What If series. For backstory purposes, the What If series was it still is. It's a comic book series, right? And they basically take the popular stories and the popular characters that we all know and love on the Marvel roster, and they kind of flip the stories using the other people that are in that stories or in that character's storyline. Yeah, storylines. So that could be anything like, instead of Peter Parker getting bit by the spider and becoming Spider-Man, it was actually Flash Gordon or Harry Osborn's son. Norman Osborn? Harry Osborn's the son. Or Harry Osborn. Like shit like that. So the series has been around. Well, first of all, there's been multiple series. Like Marvel keeps redoing this comic book franchise, and I mean it's pretty popular. Like people like stuff like this when we know and love a story, and they kind of give us a fresh new take on it. Kind of create this alternate universe where this stuff would be the real story. It's pretty dope. I never got into the What If comic books franchise or series or anything like that. I mean, I've heard some of the stories and stuff, and just being a fan or whatever. Sometimes you start looking up shit, you go down these rabbit holes, and you find out all this other stuff. What if included? So when I seen it, I'm like, all right. I'm thinking this might be kind of dope. It's animated. It's not like real people like WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Loki were. So I'm like, all right, cool. This is another MCU like entry. Not quite sure if it's gonna be like specifically tied to Phase 4, but it's Marvel. It's Disney Plus. My subscription is paid. My TV work. My internet good. I'm finna check it out. So I did. First episode did not disappoint. It was really the episode because if I wasn't really feeling the first episode like that, I had decided, okay, I'm gonna just let this one play all the way out, and then I was gonna do a review for it at the end of the series. But these episodes are coming out weekly, just like all of the other Marvel Disney Plus series or whatever. So I was like, I like the first episode, and the stories are gonna change these episodes. So let me just get into it. Starting with episode 1, titled "What If Captain Carter Were the First Avenger?" First Avenger referring to Captain America. So basically, the story goes like this, right? I mean, y'all seen what happened on Disney Plus, but this is what I'm getting. So Howard Stark decides that Peggy is gonna take the super soldier serum after she volunteers after a whole sabotage tried to happen. Like they was suiting Steve up to do it or whatever. I guess a Hydra agent or Nazi, whoever the fuck he was, he sabotaged the bitch, blew it up, and interrupted the whole thing. But the machine and the equipment was still working. Steve was shot, so Peggy jumped in or whatever. Stark pushed the button, the serum went in, and it was a success. Peggy Carter, she bulked up, got taller, and all kind of shit. Like everything worked out, but of course, American government or whatever government this is, Germany, Britain, wherever this was happening. I believe it was American government. Sexes, they was like, nah, we wanted a man. So this is a failure, and she's not going to be doing anything on behalf of us. Put her somewhere else. Obviously, we know in Steve's story, the procedure wasn't sabotaged. He became a super soldier, and they immediately started, what I'm saying, utilizing that man as Captain America and doing all these secret COVID missions or whatever. But of course, back in the day, they didn't respect women like that, so they tried to play her to the left and bench her. In the meantime, Hydra and Red Skull, they end up finding the Tesseract, stealing it from wherever it was at. And after being tired of the sexism Peggy was experiencing and being benched and all this shit, Stark pulled up on her and was like, let's do something. So she ends up going into the field. We get to see her Captain Carter outfit. She got a British flag on the front of it, and as well as the shield, because obviously Peggy Carter is British. Steve was American, so he got the American flag shit. But she ends up retrieving the Tesseract, and there's a bunch of like cool acrobatics and stuff. It's part of the reason why I like cartoons, especially when Marvel do it, because they don't skip on the action. The same way like the live action, the same way the real people, what's the word? I guess live action. The same way the live action, the movies and the TV shows with the real people in it, same way that shit be like detailed and action packed with the fight scenes and CGI and special effects and all the other shit. They be drawing that shit just as good. I mean, which I guess it wouldn't be harder. I don't know, but I'm not no illustrator or no artist that draws comics or anything like that, television shows. But dope. She was whooping ass. She was flipping trucks over herself with the shield. Like, she was whooping ass. Upon retrieving the Tesseract, though, she goes to Colonel. You know what I'm saying? She tell that nigga, like, I ain't sitting behind no desk no more. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be a captain, and I'm going to be out in the field or whatever. And she gives the Tesseract to Howard Stark, who, by the way, Tony Stark's father. She gives him the Tesseract, and he turns around and creates a Iron Man suit, like a Mach 1 type suit that we saw in the first Iron Man movie, like the first MCU Iron Man movie, like that suit that he built in the cave. Yeah, Howard builds one of those, and it's powered by the Tesseract. Now, this is interesting, obviously, because Iron Man. But then two, he gives it to Steve Rogers. Now, when Steve becomes Captain America and his thing or whatever, like, Peggy does not get no specialized suit or anything to like help him fight. She sits behind a desk at whatever office she has, and eventually she becomes like a undercover, like secret agent spy or whatever. But in this particular what if story, Steve gets in the suit, and he helps her out as a sidekick. And I also thought it was interesting because Tony builds Pepper Potts, who is his wife, a suit as well, like an Iron Man suit, and she ends up helping him out every once in a while. Goes by the name of Rescue. I don't know, just dope, like how certain like little things tie in and little like Easter eggs and one-offs from Marvel. I really fuck with them for doing stuff like that. Anyway, Captain Carter and Steve, they go break out Bucky and his unit from this German prison. In that time, we get to see more ass kicking from Captain Carter, and then Steve in the Hydra Stomper gets his debut. He's shooting all kind of Tesseract powered lasers out his fingertips and being indestructible. It's pretty dope. So Captain Carter and Steve Rogers in the Hydra Stomper suit, they fly around, run around. What's this? England, Germany, and they fucking shit up, man. They really kicking Hydra's ass. They bonding, taking down Hydra, whole helicarriers, and taking down Nazi troopers and all kind of shit, and growing closer. Because, of course, In Steve Rogers' story, him and Peggy, they develop a romance. It's the same thing in this story with Captain Carter, except for Captain Carter's the big beefed up super soldier, and Steve is still just a scrawny kid with a lot of heart and ambition. After that, small character development scene and, downtime, a little romance and all that, they go on this mission to actually catch Red Skull himself, right? Now, this turns out to be the actual mission in Steve Rogers' story where, they're on that train and he ends up losing Bucky and, eventually we find out Bucky didn't die at the little train crash scene or whatever. He was rescued by Hydra and turned into the Winter Soldier. In this Captain Carter story, though, Captain Carter is actually able to save Bucky from even falling off the train. He even makes a little reference, which I caught, to his arm when he was about to fall off, and Captain Carter reaches out, grabs him and yanks him back up, and he made like a comment about his arm because in Steve Rogers' story he falls off the train, gets rescued by Hydra, they turn him into a super soldier to use him against whoever they was fighting. And he comes back with that metal arm. It's little stuff like that I kept noticing throughout the episode that made me like it and be like, oh yeah, this is dope. I'ma just do the weekly episode reviews because I see what they're doing and I'm fucking with it. But back to the scene in the episode. Steve gets blown up, because the train is, a trap. So Steve ends up getting blown up inside the Hydra Stomper. That shit falls way, way down where Bucky was supposed to fall. Gets buried in snow. They presume Steve is dead. They leave. After losing Steve, obviously Peggy's not taking it well. She's grieving. But instead of, being emotional and angry for people not respecting Steve like they should, she decides to bury herself into defeating Hydra. After Peggy gracefully extracted some intel from somebody in a jail cell, a Nazi or a Hydra agent, Captain Carter, Bucky, and Company 107, they come up with a plan to stop Red Skull using this intel that they just got from this Hydra agent. Now, this scene was dope to me because when the Colonel started talking a little out the side of his neck about Steve, Peggy hit him with the, "You're lucky to even be in the room." Now, he had been saying this shit to her from the beginning of the episode, being that misogynistic sexism bullshit where he discounting her entire existence because she a woman, telling her she lucky to even be in the room, as if it's privileged information to hear a bunch of idiots stand around and talk about war. But oh, it is what it is. I just appreciate that she checked his ass back. Like, nigga, I've been the one out here jumping out of planes and fighting motherfuckers in tanks and shit, beating up all kind of. I've been turning the tide for the war single-handedly, and you've been in the office behind a desk just reaping the rewards. After what happened to Steve, your ass is lucky to be in the room, nigga. Don't talk to me about my motherfucking dog Steve. That's the energy I got from it anyway. Next scene, though, Captain Carter, Bucky, and Company 107 break into the Hydra facility, and we find Red Skull and his scientists accessing the power of the Tesseract. Meanwhile, Bucky finds the Hydra Stomper and Steve down in the basement. While Bucky is tending to Steve and the Hydra Stomper, we go back to Red Skull, and he done opened up this portal and got some damn tentacles coming out of it. And that shit immediately pick him up and crush him. Didn't need Captain Carter to knock his face in, nothing, no gunshots from Bucky. The tentacles is no, come here, you was playing with my life, I'm taking yours. Meanwhile, Bucky, Steve, and Company 107, they get the power to the Hydra Stomper through some kind of generator that was left down there. He shoot through the ceiling, they come in trying to help Peggy fight these motherfucking tentacles coming out of this portal. Ultimately, though, the Hydra Stomper runs out of juice and Peggy is left by herself to kind of push the tentacles back inside the portal. She sacrifices herself, tells Steve don't trip, you know what I'm saying, we're gonna have that dance when I get back. But obviously the Tesseract portal closes and Steve is looking sad. Peggy's gone, but we fade to black. Tesseract pops up on the TV screen and it opens a portal in the room. All of a sudden, Captain Carter comes out with some chopped up tentacles flying behind her. Nick Fury is in the room, and he explains to her that she's been gone about 70 years, just like Steve was frozen in that block of ice for them 70 years after they dug him out of the ground and resurrected him. They kind of end the story there, you know. Captain Carter says the same thing Steve said when he came out of his frozen tundra prison. Like, oh, you know what I'm saying, we won the war, so the fact that I've been going all this time, it just is what it is, as long as I got my mission completed. Captain Carter shared the same sentiments. We close out the episode with the Watcher. He's explaining, you know, timelines are being created and he's not going to do anything but watch, and a silhouette appears on the screen, like, very ominous, very mysterious. I'm trying to understand how this is going to tie into Phase 4, but I have thoughts on that. Outside of those thoughts that I'll share on a later Blurcast episode, I think this show is dope. Based on this episode I've seen, if they keep going down this trajectory, picking like the really popular characters and kind of giving somebody else in those particular storylines one of those B characters to like really shine, I'm excited. I feel like they're gonna do one with Shuri becoming Black Panther, because I don't know, that's a big one that people like, a big story, and plus it happens in the comic books. I don't know, so maybe not. Maybe it's gonna be what's his name, Killmonger, that becomes Black Panther. I don't know. I never got into the What If comic book series, like I said earlier. So seeing these stories or whatever, this is like new shit for me. So I'm excited and I like what they got going on. And like I said, I think the next one's going to be about Black Panther, because the Marvel Avengers game, which I'm going to be covering, by the way, they are putting Black Panther in the game finally. Wakanda's going to be there. All of the shit's going to be dope. Okoye's going to be there. Shuri's going to be there. Killmonger, probably. M'Baku, maybe. Wakanda's coming to the Marvel Avengers game with Black Panther as a playable character. I'm going to cover that on the Blurrycast, but I think that's why the next episode is going to be Black Panther. I'm not sure. It could be something else, but we'll find out next week. I'm excited. Hopefully, y'all going to stick around and listen to me review these episodes. I feel like all of this time travel, timeline, variant, alternate universe stuff is making way for a lot of dope shit to happen in MCU Phase 4. This is my speculation, right? I'm going to just briefly discuss it. I feel like all of this time travel and time stuff that they got going on with these Disney Plus Marvel shows is ultimately going to weave a story that allows the X-Men to come into the MCU and the Fantastic Four like story to be retold in a way that better fits the actual MCU. Because when Disney bought Fox and Marvel, Marvel was able to reacquire the mutant terminology and the whole X-Men universe pretty much. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited. But that's it for this first episode of What If, Marvel's What If. They did, like I said, what if Captain Carter were the first Avenger. I'll catch y'all next week and we'll discuss What If Episode 2. I'm interested to see who they're going to pick or what story they're going to tell. But yeah, I'll let y'all.